Oh. Good afternoon. This is Meredith Anderson coming to you from the News Now Center in Augusta. And I just want to say many apologies for my appearance. I don't usually look like this, but I wanted to tell you that I had to get that out of my ear because I was hearing some feedback there. My home sustained major damage, as I'm sure many of your homes did too, but I just tell you that because I want you to know that all of us are in this together. So please be patient when you're asking for help from firefighters, nurses, because their homes likely sustained significant damage as well. We're coming to you now because the Augusta Commission is about to meet in about, let's see, 15 or so minutes. So we want to bring that to you live. But ahead of that, we want to show you some of the damage that we got. This is some fresh drone video of Forest Hills, if we can pull that up right now and kind of give you a look at that. And while we're talking about that and showing you some of that damage, I know a lot of you are wondering, you know, where can I get gas? Where can I get food right now? We have seen cars bumper to bumper outside our gas station working to get you to those gas pumps, Costco gas. They do have gas today. The Pilot Travel Center off of Riverwatch Parkway, they also have gas. The Inn Market on Heritage Highway in Bamberg, the Golden Pantry on Lincolnton Road. In terms of where you can get food right now, it varies. We've seen empty store shelves in the grocery stores, but there are some open from time to time. From the restaurants, we did find the Sonic and Subway on Martintown Road, where we were open last night. They were open last night. Pool Room in Edgefield, Okinawa Japanese Steakhouse and Sushi Bowl. They're only taking cash, though, if you sit down and take it to go. The Honey Baked Ham Store is taking credit cards. We are constantly updating this list online, so keep an eye out on website and social media. In Columbia County, the Waffle House on Washington Road, Dr. Barbecue in the parking lot of the Walgreens on Washington Road, the Burger King on North Bel Air, the Waffle House on North Bel Air, there is a line, Waffle House on Jimmy Dias, Grovetown Seafood Restaurant, they're open at the window. The Publix on Washington Road is open, the Publix at Fury's Ferry, the Lowe's on Washington Road. Gas stations, some more in Columbia County, the Circle K on Washington Road. The lines, of course, very long, so please be very patient. The Superstar across, that's open as well. The Circle K on Columbia and South Bel Air, they have gas, but really no tech person to turn it on. And the BP on South Bel Air. So now you're taking a look again at Forest Hills. This is fresh drone video that we got in. As we're taking a look at that, and we can take some look at video around the area, I want to give you some ideas of shelters. If you're watching right now, I'm going to guess that you're watching by your phone. I know so many of you still don't have power. So many of us still don't have power. The Henry Brigham Community Center is currently at capacity in Augusta. So if you're still in need of shelter, they're asking people to go to May Park, that is located at 622 4th Street in Augusta. In Aiken County has opened a regional community shelter in North Augusta. This is for Aiken, Edgefield, and North Augusta residents if needed. The shelter is located at Meriwether Elementary on 565 Springhaven Drive in Bamberg. The Bamberg First Baptist Church on Heritage Highway in Bamberg is open. To give you an update on that, please know that as any more shelters open, we are updating our website and our app. If you are watching me right now and you do not have our app, please know that power is at a minimum for many of you, and that some of you are not able to get our articles when we publish them. So we are taking very care in how we do our push alert, so that when you get a push alert to your phone, it's almost like a text message, so that you can get some information that way. You won't need the full cell power to get into our app to get some of that information. We know some of you have said, hey, you have this information, we can't access it. We've been listening because we want to get this information to you as much as we can. We have a team of reporters out today. I'm keeping an eye on the time, 1:47. Again, the Augusta Commission meeting is set to start at 2 p.m. and we want to bring that to you live. But we want to go to our Kennedy Payne, who has been out in the field today with an update.
I'm here right off of Stevens Creek Road, and behind me I'm here at Kelly Park in the Evans, Martinez area, and you can see behind me there's a tree that...
Actually, we'll come back out now. We need to get that flipped around. Sorry about that. We can go now to Hallie Turner and see what update she has for us.
Ready? 3, 2, 1. We're outside this Chevron gas station here in Grovetown. Now, I'm going to step out of the way so you can see some of the extensive damage done to this. Grovetown hardly has any service despite several power poles being up. You can see that this the whole siding of the gas station was taken down. The gas pumps aren't in service. There is a car parked out here, but we're going to pan and walk out towards the center a little bit so that you guys can kind of see what's going on in Grovetown. Again, the Walgreens seems to, the sign is posted, but no one is outside. Everything's a little bit closed down. It's quiet over here, but in Columbia County, on our way in, we saw a lot of trees down and a lot of damage. And here's the thing. When we drive past this, sometimes you see some trees laying on homes. Sometimes you just see trees laying down, and then you can hear chainsaws, and you're like, okay, well, what are they cutting down? Then you realize they're cutting down a tree that's covering an entire home, almost as a total loss. It's devastating out here. Again, they are working to get these roadways restored. Columbia County County Manager said on a Facebook Live that they've cleared nearly 500 roads in the last several days. As we drove around Grovetown in Columbia County today, we've seen Georgia Power workers, linemen from all different sorts of companies out on these roadways working to restore these power poles. A good sign is that most of the roads that we've driven down are cleared. Now, there still are some with power lines down that are blocking those roadways, but as of right now, I'm gonna go to my phone right now and look at some of the things that I wrote down coming in so that you know that what's available for food right now, or gas stations. Let's start with gas stations. Circle K on Washington Road in Columbia County, the line is open, but it is long. The Superstar across the street from that is open as well on Washington Road. Circle K on Columbia and South Bel Air has gas, but right now they don't have a technician to turn that on. There are long lines there. The BP on South Bel Air is open. For food, Waffle House on Washington Road, Doctor's Barbecue in the parking lot of Walgreens on Washington Road does start to have a line. That Walgreens isn't open yet, but it does have a line as well. And the Waffle House on North Bel Air Road, there is a long line, and the Waffle House on Jimmy Dias is open. Burger King on North Bel Air, we haven't even seen a Burger King open in a long time. That was the first one we've seen today. Again, your Lowe's and your Publix are open. But again, as they slowly start to restore this power, please be aware of these intersections. We're going to pan to that one more time. When you come to an intersection like this, we want you, and all county leaders want to reiterate to you, this is a four-way stop. We want you to treat it as a four-way stop. We've seen a lot of accidents happen just right outside of our station. Again, take the time to let someone pass, even if it's rolling your window down and waving them through. A lot of people have already lost their homes, some have lost their vehicles, and they're just trying to get to gas if they do have a vehicle, and you don't want to lose a life or wreck your car in the process of this. If you want the full story, we'll continue to keep things updated throughout the day, but right here in Columbia County, I'm Hallie Turner with News 12. Again, you can find us on our app at WRDW News 12 or our website, WRDW.com, or on our Facebook page, WRDW News 1226.
All right. Thanks for that, Hallie. We are continuing to monitor. The Augusta Commission meeting is set to start at 2 o'clock. The Aiken City Council is set to meet at 5 o'clock. So leaders are gathering to kind of figure out a plan, figure out a situation, and keep the community updated. Of course, we are working to keep you updated as well. Something to let you know about too, with some numbers. I want to go over some important things. With cell service being so unpredictable, authorities want to make sure that you know what numbers to call. 911 is down in Emmanuel County. Authorities want you to call 334-309-3967 until further notice. This is on our website and app. But if you are hearing this in Emmanuel County, I want to give you time to grab a pen, pull out your phone, and open your notes app so that you can write this down. So I'll read it for you one more time, and I'll read it slowly so that you can make sure that you get this, because if you need emergency help in Emmanuel County, 911 is not a number you can call right now. This is the number you need to call. 334-309-3967. Again, that is only for Emmanuel County. If you need to request help from a Burke County deputy, the sheriff's office wants you to call this number. So, okay, I'm going to slow down and give you a chance to open up the Notes app in your phone and write this number down. Again, this is if you need help from a Burke County deputy and you're in Burke County, you need to call 762-225-6209. Again, 762-225-6209. Again, that's if you need help in Burke County. We are checking with other counties as they assess how much the storm could have damaged their systems, but it is important to note that as well. Okay, we are 8 minutes away now from that Augusta Commission meeting. We are still monitoring that. Of course, we will take you there live as soon as that happens. But as many of you are kind of preparing, what do we do now? How do I get the most assistance from this? FEMA does have 7 things that you need to know, and I kind of want to go over those until the Augusta commissioners start their meeting, just to kind of give you an idea of what you need to be doing right now. Because if you can hear me, that means you have power to your phone, and your phone, that is a good camera to have in your hand to be able to document some of this stuff and be able to start some of these applications. So how do you apply to FEMA? There is a FEMA helpline, and you might want to do this by phone. It's 1-800-621-3362. I'll slow that down again so you can pull out your notes app and write this down. 1-800-621-3362. Help is available in most languages. You can also visit a disaster recovery center, but the best bet right now is either to call in or go to FEMA's website. But here's something that's very important. You're going to need some information with you when you apply for this. You're going to need a description of the damage, the address at the time of the disaster, your social security number. I know we tell you so many times, don't give your social security number to anyone, but if you are contacting FEMA and you're applying for assistance, it is okay to give them your social security number. In fact, they need it to continue with your application to get aid. You need to give them contact information. They have got to have a way to get in touch with you. If you have insurance, you need to give them your policy number, your agent, or your insurance company. That's important too. You also need to tell them your annual household income, and you're going to need to give them your bank account information for direct deposit. And I think it's important that we reiterate this, just because so many times we tell you, if a scammer asks for this, never give this information out. But if you are reaching out to FEMA, if you are the one initiating the call, if you are the one initiating this online, you need to give them this information, because that's how they can start their claim. You are going to be contacted, no doubt, by scammers who are going to be asking you for this information. So it is very important to point out, don't give it to someone who is soliciting it. Give it to FEMA when you are the one initiating the call. I just want to make sure that I am very clear about that, because that is very important that you don't give your information to people who want to use it for nefarious purposes, because people are out there ready to take advantage of people in vulnerable situations like this. So make sure you're safeguarding your information, but that you are giving it to appropriate people when needed. Now, you're going to remember to document your damage, and that's what I'm talking about when I say the phone that's in your hand that you're likely using to listen to me right now. Go take pictures of damage, and I don't mean the tree on your house and that's it, one picture. I mean, take pictures of every single thing that you can think of to take pictures of. It is extremely important, because that is something that you can do to document every little bit of damage that you have. If you have insurance, file a claim. Do not rely on FEMA to handle all of your damage. This is in addition to your insurance coverage. So don't think, because we've been declared a disaster area, because President Biden has accepted our governors, both of our states' governors' issuance of that declaration, that we're going to get all of our help from FEMA. That is not true. That is a myth, actually. What you need to do is file your insurance claim, and then this FEMA declaration is something that is in addition to that. FEMA cannot pay for the losses that your insurance company pays for. They can't. So if you are relying on FEMA to help you, it's not going to be a good situation. So file insurance first, go for FEMA next. So what can FEMA help you with? They can help you with a range of things. Serious needs assistance. This is money to help pay for essential items such as food, water, baby formula, breastfeeding supplies, medication, other emergency supplies as well. Displacement assistance. They can also help with that. Money to help with housing needs. If you cannot return to your home because of the disaster, I know so many of you have left. Well, this money can be used to stay in a hotel with family and friends, or other options looking for a rental unit. Other eligible expenses. Now, this includes expenses from things like rental assistance, basic home repairs, property losses, things like that. Okay, so what happens next? So after you reach out to FEMA, after you've done all these things, you've given them your information, You've taken the pictures to document the damage. You have filed your insurance claim, but you've also reached out to FEMA. What comes next? Well, they'll do a home inspection. So FEMA may want to verify this, and that's perfectly normal, so they will want to come and do a home inspection. An application decision. You will receive a letter with FEMA's decision on your application. So you may be approved based on just the information that you provided. So your simple phone call and some of the pictures you send, that may be enough. But they also might need someone to come out to your area as well. Now, this is something important too. If you don't agree with their decision, if you are denied, you can appeal their decision, and there will be instructions in your letter that you get. So let's not even get to that right now. Let's just soldier on and try to get you all the help you can get. Delivery of funds. If you are approved for disaster assistance, you may receive a check from the U.S. Department of Treasury or a direct deposit based on your chosen method. We will make sure that all this information is on your website, but again, it is important to remember all of these things. The takeaway from this, FEMA is here. We are eligible for this assistance, but you are not eligible for any assistance based on anything that your insurance provider can pay for. So your first order of business is filing a claim with your insurance company and then reaching out to FEMA for help. And if you need this help, this information is there. This help is there. This is the federal government, and they are stepping up to offer assistance to people in our area. We are continuing to monitor the Augusta Commission meeting. It is set to start in 1 minute. The screen that they use is still on a shot of downtown Augusta. So that lets us know that they are not broadcasting from the Augusta Commission chambers yet, but we still have our eyes on it. And as soon as that information becomes available, as soon as they start broadcasting, we will take it. I will even stop talking almost mid-sentence to send it over there, because I want to make sure that we get that information to you as soon as possible. I mean, Augusta Mayor Garnett Johnson has said that this is the worst natural disaster that Augusta has ever seen. And I know a lot of you were here like I was during the ice storm, and that was particularly bad, but this is definitely something that is no words in some instances. I tell you, I grew up in Charleston. I went through Hurricane Hugo, and I liken this to Hurricane Hugo was a much that is used to stuff, been thinned out before by tropical storm, hurricane. This, and I've also worked for this, likened to that. Worse, what you have been through is a very serious storm, and only part of it is over. There's going to be a lot more to go, but we are all in this together, and we will get through this together. We just have to be patient. Here who are in the same boat. I'm told that we have microphone problems. We're going to work on those, but I'm going to go ahead and send it to that meeting and just wait for it to start. And I got a new mic. Oh, I'm back on? Okay. Sorry about that. We had to change microphones and get some new batteries. It appears everybody's batteries are running out about now, mine included. But we will continue on. Like we said, we're entering the Augusta Commission chambers. As you can see, once that screen goes live in Commission chambers, that's when the meeting officially starts, and that's when the broadcast will begin. But as you can see, it hasn't started yet, so we're going to keep monitoring it for you, and we'll bring that information to you. And just so you know, we are holding Augusta leaders accountable. This has been an interesting time, as you can imagine. They have mentioned a lot of information about, you know, we have help arriving, we have requested help from other communities, we have FEMA here, and we're specifically asking leaders, okay, where? What are they doing? Can you specifically tell us where crews are? Because we would like to show people exactly what's going on. We want the government to be a little bit more transparent with the decisions that they're making and how they are assisting the community. We've noticed, for example, there will be mentions of, oh, we're handing out water here, but you know, there will be number of people who are stuck in certain areas and can't get to where the water is being handed out. And how are people getting to those people? How are the people who are trapped in their, you know, with trees over their driveways and have these needs? How are those people's needs being addressed? How are the people who have no gas and are, you know, told to stay at home getting the help that they need? How are the elderly people who are homebound? How are they getting the help that they need? And we are holding the leaders to account. We're hoping to get some more information in this Augusta Commission meeting. I can tell you, I covered Katrina when Katrina went through New Orleans, and not getting information from city leaders was unacceptable then, and it's unacceptable to us now. So we're going to make sure that we are getting those answers for you and answering those questions for you. We've heard a lot of frustration out in the community. I was waiting in line for gas this morning. I waited for a couple of hours, just like, you know, everybody else did, and you know, we were trying to be patient, but there were people who were trying to cut in front of others, and it's just, in this situation, we all have to be patient. We all have to get somewhere. And you know, you got to look at the people in line with you, because those could be nurses heading to the hospital. Those could be, you know, city workers who are getting to work to try to help get the water situation rectified. I mean, there are so many people who are essential workers and who need to be out. And if you don't need to be out, it's just best if you aren't in this, and you just let the people who need to be out here getting information to the community, or fixing something, or making sure that we're getting food and water to people who need it. Just make sure that those are the people who are out on the roads right now, because that's what's the most important thing right now. Again, we have mentioned this, 911 is down in Emmanuel County. I want to give you that number again. 09. (334-309-3967), and then that number in Burke County if you need a deputy, 762-225-6209. And this is an important reminder too for anyone who's driving. I know we have seen this, but this is something that, you know, the governor, the mayor, all of us have been told to reiterate time and time again. This intersection reminder, the power is out, so that means the traffic signals are down on roads. You need to treat these intersections as a four-way stop. I know you have seen people not treat them as such. I have seen people not treat them as such. I know the shock has kind of worn off now. There is no reason that any of us should not be treating an intersection as a four-way stop when the power is out. The death toll is climbing. We just got word about another death. We're hearing at least 23 people now have been killed just in our area. Just in our area. The last thing we need is a traffic death because people are not following the rules of the road. So if you get to an intersection, I know it sounds elementary and basic, but if you've been out on the roads, you know why I need to keep saying this, because people are not following this. So please, please, please treat it like a four-way stop. If the two of you stop at the same time, the car on the right goes first. It's important to go over that. We are still monitoring the Augusta Commission chambers. Their slate is still up, letting us know they are not broadcasting. They are not ready to start the meeting yet. Aiken County, actually it's not the county, it's the city. Aiken City Council is meeting at 5 p.m. this evening. We're monitoring that as well. And as I continue to make sure that that meeting hasn't started, because we're going to take you there live as soon as we can, I want to go over some more of this FEMA assistance. You know, we talked a little bit ago, if you're just joining us, about the 7 things that you need to do if you want to apply for FEMA. And so because we're just now something in right now. Okay. So let's go over the FEMA individual assistance. And Gary, I have to let you know, I had to take my IFB out just now. I know you told me to plug in, but there's a massive delay. So I can't have that in. I know you want me to have that in, but I cannot have that in at the moment. We're going to go over the FEMA individual assistance. We talked about where the 7 things that you need to know when you apply for FEMA help. And if you were not joining us for that, I'm just going to go over the really quick takeaways. The first is that you need to file your insurance claim, because FEMA cannot pay for anything that your insurance can pay for. So if you're uninsured, obviously you need to skip that step. But after that, FEMA will get in touch with you, and once you apply, you are going to need to give them some pretty specific information. We're talking your social security number, things that you ordinarily wouldn't want to give out, the things we tell you, be careful because scammers will give them to you. We'll ask them for you. This is a situation where you do need to give this information out, but it's important to point out that you need to give it when you initiate this claim. FEMA will not call you and ask you if you want to start a claim. They won't. So when you start the claim, that's important to give this information out. But we're going to go over what kind of assistance you can get from them if you are approved. Rental assistance. This is money you can use to rent housing if you're displaced. This is lodging expense reimbursement. Money to reimburse you for emergency lodging expenses. This is like a hotel or a motel if you're displaced from your home. This money, though, is only available if you do not receive money for displacement under other needs assistance. Home repair or replacement. This is important because I know so many of us have damaged homes. This may include addressing mold caused by the disaster, hazard mitigation measures, which are, some actions you can take when making repairs that'll help you reduce the amount of damage to your home in future disasters. This is one of those situations where, if there's a hole in your roof and it's leaking, well, you need to get a tarp on it. You need to get something fixed, right away so that it doesn't cause any more damage. That's something FEMA can help with. Accessibility needs. This is specific repairs to homes to make sure that their home is accessible for those with disabilities. We're talking exterior ramps, grab bars, paved path to home entrance. Repairs can be made when these items are damaged, and that's a very important point because we know a lot of our community has some of these access points, and a ramp is not cheap. A paved entrance is not cheap, and yet it's absolutely vital to some of these people who are disabled and need it. So FEMA does recognize that, and that's part of the help that is you're able to get. Privately owned roads, bridges, and docks, that's important too. That some of that will be able to be as well. Serious needs, some money to help you pay for immediate needs such as water, food, first aid, prescriptions, infant formula, breastfeeding supplies, diapers, personal hygiene, fuel for transportation. All of that's important too. I'm still continuing to monitor the situation here for the Augusta Commission meeting, although I think we have Nick Proto live for us, perhaps. Let me
we do.
put this back in and see if that's what we've got going on. Nick, are you there? Are you there, Nick?
Yeah, Meredith, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can.
Yep.
So where are you and Kayla, and what have
right,
you been able to
all
see
right.
so far?
Yeah, so Kayla and I are in downtown Johnston here in Edgefield County. We haven't been around the town a whole lot too much yet, but okay, well, it sounds like they're going to start a meeting, so we'll come back in a little while.
Okay, sorry about that. We have been monitoring the Augusta Commission meeting
All
for
good,
quite
all
some
good.
time, and it appears as though it's starting. And we do
Okay, we are live.
people to that right now,
Good
so we're
afternoon,
going to go
ladies
ahead
and
and take that
gentlemen.
meeting.
It is a regret that we have to have this meeting virtual today, but as many of you know, we've been devastated by the horrific Hurricane Helene. Just know that we're working through this process to make sure that we keep your government up and running and get our city up and running. With that, Madam Clerk, I'm going to call this meeting to order.
Yes, sir. Let us pray for our invocation. Eternal loving God, we thank you for this beautiful day. We ask for your guidance for all those who devoted themselves to the common good of this community. We lift up members of the Augusta Commission and staff for special guidance and direction during today's deliberations. Heal us from our differences and unite us, O Lord, with a common purpose, dedication, and commitment to achieve what is good for all Augustans, and especially those who are most vulnerable in our midst. In the name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Madam Clerk, we thank you for that. Need it. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we're going to go to legal first. We have all right, going to consent agenda. All right, Madam Clerk, we're going to go ahead and move to the consent agenda portion of our meeting.
Mr. Mayor, we do have an addendum agenda.
Okay.
So you may want to go ahead and see if there are any objections so that some of those may be considered during your addendum agenda as well.
Ms. Bonner, with the consent of the commissioners, I'm requesting that we adopt the published agenda for October 1st, 2024 as the agenda for today.
Okay.
All right. Colleagues, we do have an addendum agenda. I think there it is. It's on the screen. Colleagues, is there any objection to us adopting any of these items on this addendum agenda?
I can't object to it because I can't see it.
All right.
I don't know what the addendum.
Madam Clerk, for the
So
record.
let me send it to. Let's see if I. Hold on just a moment.
You're gonna have to text it to me because emails aren't loading very quickly out here.
Yeah, Madam Clerk, for the record, please read it for anybody else that may not be.
That I do have them on my email. Well, Mr. Mayor, let me just send them out to everyone. The addendum agenda and the attachments. Hold on.
We have them, but I think for the record, it's probably more appropriate to still read them in the event that there's someone online that does not have access.
I can't.
Can you just
Okay,
read?
what's that again now, sir?
Can you just read them into the record for those who may not have access?
Yeah, that's fine. Just read them in the record.
Okay. The first item is a motion to approve emergency procurement of the Hurricane Helene debris removal services and authorize the mayor to execute an initial response contract with Surrey's Environmental Services, Inc. and approve use of general fund balance not to exceed $6,300,000 to fund these services requested by the administrator.
Thank you. Is there any objection to this matter? Hearing or seeing none, let's move on to number 2, Madam Clerk.
Item 2 is to approve emergency procurement of Hurricane Helene's debris management and financial recovery services. Authorize the mayor to execute an initial response contract with Goodwin Mills and Kaywood, Inc. and approve use of general fund balance not to exceed $550,000, requested by the administrator.
Is there any objections to this item? Hearing or seeing none, let's move forward.
Item 3 is a motion to direct a restricted donation from Comcast to United Way of the CSRA for Hurricane Helene's relief efforts, requested by the administrator.
Are there any objections to this matter? Hearing or seeing none, let's go.
Item 4 is to receive as information an update on water bill collections during Hurricane Helene's recovery late payment penalty waiver, requested by the administrator.
Are there any objections?
So, sir, I wanted to ask a question real quick.
Yes, sir.
What, you said that Comcast is going to give some money. Do we know how much?
A minimum of $50,000. Minimum. They may go as high as 100. We don't have confirmation yet, but a minimum.
Okay.
And it's our intent is to give that money to the United Way. All right. All right. Madam Clerk, I think that takes us to number 4.
Yes, sir. Receive as information an update on the water bill collection during Hurricane Helene's recovery. Late payment penalty waiver, requested by the administrator.
Are there any objections? Hearing or seeing none, let's move forward.
Okay. Last item, number 5, is to approve the waiver of fees up to 5 bags of household waste per household at the Augusta landfill for the period September 30th, 2024 through October 5th, 2024, requested by the administrator.
Are there any objections to this matter?
No objections. No objections, but I did want to say something.
Yes, sir. Come. What, Commissioner Williams, if you can hold off a second, I'm letting this minister add something before.
We just need to amend that, Ms. Bonner, to say Richmond County residents only.
Okay.
Commissioner Williams, you have the floor, sir.
All right, so we're going to have trash trucks coming by to pick up, I don't know, this Wednesday, next Wednesday, or what have you. We're going to have some people, we're going to have some trash out there, then they're going to have some trash and some more trash and some more trash. So are we going to talk with those people to tell them that they need to pick up whatever people have, or is it just up to the 5 bags that they can pick up, or what is it? What kind of talks are we going to have with those trash disposal people? If we don't have the answer, we need to think about it, because you're going to have some folks that are going to put some limbs out there. You're going to have some folks that are going to put some trash out there. You're going to have some folks with some extra stuff. So, but they're going to have to help us out in some way, shape, form, or fashion.
Yes, sir, Commissioner Williams. This is just household trash.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that you said 5 additional bags. That's if they take it, or if they can put 5 bags out on the curb.
Oh, no, that's if they take it to the landfill. We have some people that are taking it directly themselves.
Right, but you're going to have some people, they're going to put probably some additional trash out in front of their houses, so we probably need to get in front of that. So we don't have an answer for it. We probably need to go ahead and start talking to those folks, because I know some people that put some limbs out in front of the house and already, and it's, you know, big trash, whatever. So, and they haven't put the house trash out there yet. I don't know. There's maybe something we need to get in front of.
Yes, sir. That's a good point. We do have a plan for that. The debris management team that we're bringing in that is supposed to start, of course, awaiting today's approval. We'll start picking that up, and we'll start putting directives out there to the community and how to put that waste to the outside to the curb.
All right. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Madam Clerk, I didn't hear any objection to this addendum agenda, so we're going to add all 5 items. Now we're going to move forward to the regular agenda.
Are you going to add those to your consent?
Yes, ma'am, we are.
Okay.
If I could, Mr. Mayor, I am trying to get a copy just to make sure these were accurately provided. I think Jeff has another copy. Jeff?
I do not have one yet.
Okay, I need that one forwarded. I think it needs to be a modification to number 3. But we can add these to, if we can just add them to the agenda and we'll address those. Thank you.
All right, that moves us to the regular portion of our agenda.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir, Commissioner.
So the monies that we're going to spend are coming from our rainy day fund, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, with us declaring and ourselves to be a state of emergency and what have you, we'll be able to apply to get those monies back, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So just checking.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
just one clarification. Commissioner Williams just asked if this is coming from rainy day, but I believe the agenda item said general fund. Can we get clarification on that? Is that general fund or is this reserves?
It's coming from our general fund balance, the fund balance reserve money, which we have an estimated amount, to cover that, adequate amount to cover. Now, let me please make sure that everybody understands this is just the initial phase as well. Once they get out there, we'll realize and recognize that there's additional funds going to be necessary. So I do want to make sure that everyone is aware of that.
Commissioner Johnson, I want to make sure you heard that. You froze a little bit. I want to make sure you're still online and you heard that. You're good. All right, thank you, Commissioner. All right. All right, Madam Clerk. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Fran.
I will, Ms. Bonner. I'll ask to consent a bunch of agenda items.
All right, Ms. Bonner, that moves us to the consent portion of our agenda.
Okay, we're not adding any, that's it? Consent agenda? Okay, well, right now the consent agenda will consist of the 5 that were just added in the minutes. Are there going to be additional ones from the regular agenda added on?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm about to state.
All right, we're getting Commissioner. Okay,
I didn't hear it.
To the addendum agenda, number 4 is something we need an update on, so that one will be on consent. But 1,
Okay,
2,
you're
3, and
objecting?
5 will be consent. 1, 2, 3, and 5 on the addendum will be consented. And then on the regular agenda, we won't be able to do 2 through 7 because there's no opportunity for objectors on any of the alcohol petitions. So
Okay.
I'm starting with number 8, consent, number 10, consent, 11, 12, 13, 15, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 27, 28, 29, 30, 32, and 34.
all right, I'm gonna give you guys a few minutes to check through those before I ask for anybody else.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. Sorry. This is Commissioner Pulliam.
Yes, ma'am.
The way we have the addendum agenda put up on the screen, is there a way we could possibly put at least that page that Commissioner Fransom read out? Because it's taking our phones forever to load, so I just had to send a picture of the addendum agenda to some of my colleagues.
Yes,
So
ma'am. We're gonna try to get that put up for you. Give us just a second, okay?
Okay,
Well,
so before we
give me
consent to that, I need to see that. Thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor, give me a moment and I'll send it out to them.
Okay.
Because it's not loading via email.
Oh, it's not? Oh, okay.
No, ma'am. So the way we have the addendum agenda as like a picture on our screen, I can see it that way. So even if we're able to put that on the screen like we have the addendum agenda, that would be very helpful.
Oh, Jeff, can you assist with that?
Thank you.
If you can email it to me, I can display
I
whatever.
did. You have it. Okay, let me check.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
just for the record too, I just wanted to clarify number 3 on the agenda. Motion to direct a restricted donation from Comcast to United Way of CSRA for Hurricane Helene relief efforts. I think you mentioned that, but I wanted to make sure it was clear. These it's a little different than what was on the screen initially.
All right. We're gonna see if Jeff can get it up on the screen. Commissioner Pulliam, do you have access to the internet? Because I have the app pulled up from the agenda book app.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Mayor, I don't have access. I'm sorry, Commissioner Guilfoyle. He asked me a question. May I answer that question first?
Commissioner Guilfoyle, hold on one second. Commissioner Pulliam,
Okay.
you were saying?
Yes, sir. I don't have access to internet, but like cell phone service is still working. So like my cell phone service is not shaky where I'm sitting. So that's why I was saying if it could be put up on the screen, I can actually see it because the internet is running slow.
All right. Okay. Well, Jeff is going to work on that.
If that makes sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
Okay.
Before we move forward,
Thank
we'll get
you.
on the screen for you, okay?
Thank you so much, sir.
Commissioner Guilfoyle, you have the floor, sir.
Yes, sir. We could add agenda item number 31 to the consent. If anybody's questioning, it's a $910,530 grant for the federal and state grant with the TIA.
We already did that one.
Thank you so much. We at a disadvantage, you know, trying to look on the internet slow as well out here in the South.
All right. So that's actually number 32, sir.
I've got it coming soon.
All right.
What do they want to see? That's the whole agenda?
The agenda.
Yes, okay.
Let's start with the first page.
Doing that.
One, two, second page. Start with the second page. Next page.
Keep going. Right there. Right there.
Right there. Yeah, stop right there for a minute. Commissioner Pulliam, can you see those?
Yes, sir, I can. Thank
All right.
you. I'm looking at
Let
them
me know
now.
when you need to scroll forward.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay, I'm fine. I don't know if my colleagues are finished looking at it. Can all my colleagues see it? I don't want to just.
All right. Any objection to any of these? Hearing and seeing none, Jeff, let's go to 17 and the rest of them if you can. 17 to 26. Commissioner Pulliam, let us know when you're ready.
Okay, sir. I'm good. Thank you.
Let's get the last few items, please.
Question, Mr. Mayor.
Yes,
So we haven't gone over 30 down, correct? It was just to number 29. Is that correct? Or no? We can send it. Sorry.
30.
Let me look back at the
32 and 34 were consented.
30, 32, 34. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I'm good.
Motion to approve.
Who is that? Miss McKnight? Let me just ask this, on item number 25, Reverend Ivy has requested that his item be rescheduled at the next Engineering Services Committee. Could we just consent that one as well?
Sure.
Yes. Are there any
Yes, ma'am.
objections? Here is said none, madam. Just consider.
Okay.
Madam Clerk, I have a motion. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So I just had a question about, so there's an item on here about code enforcement and credit card policies and stuff like that. Are those items important for us to discuss today? Can we afford to move those back another meeting or so we can handle the important things?
So we'll just reschedule.
And like
Council, I think we're
salary
deferring
discussions
those.
and stuff like that. I don't think we should be talking about salary discussions.
We're not going to discuss those today was the thought.
He's okay? All right. All right, so I have a motion and a second.
Who seconded that? I'm sorry, there was
Mr. Garrett.
breaking up. I can't.
Commissioner Garrett. Commissioner Brandon Garrett.
Okay.
All right, Madam Clerk, we're voting. I guess we're going to roll call vote.
Yes, sir. Mr. Franum,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Garrett,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Guilfoyle,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Jordan Johnson,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Lewis, Mr. Lewis,
I don't think he's on, Madam.
not responding. Mr. Mason, Mr. Mason, not responding. Ms. McKnight,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Pulliam,
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Scott, Ms. Scott, not responding. Mr. Bobby Williams.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That motion carries with Mr. Lewis, Mr. Mason, and Ms. Scott absent from the vote.
Are we? Yeah, Chair recognizes Commissioner Sean Frank.
I'd like to make a motion or ask that all these other agenda items be forwarded to the next full commission meeting.
All right, before we go to that, Madam Clerk, let the record reflect that Commissioner Francine Scott had said that she voted yes also. She is present.
She is present. Okay.
All right. Commissioner Fran, can you restate that one time?
I'd like to make a motion to forward all the other agenda items to the appropriate place, whether that's a committee or a commission meeting. I guess Ms. Bonner can confirm that.
All remaining items? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I
Okay.
second that motion.
That Mr. Johnson and
Commissioner Fran.
that's Mr. Franum and Mr. Johnson. Okay.
Motion and second.
And
We're voting, Madam Clerk.
okay. Mr. Franum,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Garrett,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Guilfoyle,
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Johnson,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Jordan Johnson,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Lewis, out. Mr. Mason, out. Ms. McKnight,
Yes.
Ms. Pulliam, Ms. Pulliam,
She's on. Mr. Pulliam. She may have dropped off.
Ms. Scott. Do you
Yeah,
hear
just
me?
take a second because she'll text us.
Oh, okay.
Said yes.
Francine Scott says yes.
Okay. Have you heard Mr. Bobby Williams?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Have we heard from Ms. Pulliam?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Pulliam.
How do you want to proceed, Mr. Mayor?
What's our vote? Do we have a?
Well, we can't hear her to vote. She's not texting in, so we would count her as being out.
Yeah. All right, Madam Clerk.
We have eight.
She may need to try pressing *6 on her phone to unmute herself.
Oh.
She had spotty reception.
I don't see her name in the participant list currently.
Can we get an updated list on who's on the call, Jeff?
I see Commissioner Bobby Williams, Commissioner Wayne Guilfoyle, Commissioner Jordan Johnson, Commissioner Brandon Garrett, Commissioner McKnight, Commissioner Franum. If I'm missing anybody, please speak up.
Commissioner Bobby Williams, you have him?
Yes.
I'm here. I'm here by phone.
Okay, she's
Well, that's Commissioner Scott, right?
Yes. Right.
So we got 8 people.
Yeah.
All right, you already had the motion. We got a second. We voted. We got to see it pass, right? That motion passed, Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's move forward. Attorney Plunkett?
Mr. Mayor, we request a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing any potential litigation, real estate, and personnel matters.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second? There's a second by Commissioner Calvin Smith McKnight. Colleagues, we're voting.
Okay. Did Mr. Franum make that motion or?
He did.
Okay. And Ms. McKnight? Okay. Mr.
Can we
Franum?
retake the motion,
Yes,
please?
Mr. Garrett?
1 minute, Madam Clerk.
I think-
Commissioner Jordan Johnson. Commissioner Johnson?
Yeah, this internet is tough. I'm sorry. I just wanted to see if you could restate that motion.
To go into executive session
Okay, thank you.
for the
Ms. Barber.
purpose of pending potential litigation, real estate, and personnel.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Garrett,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Guilfoyle,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes, ma'am.
Barnett Johnson,
Yes,
Which
ma'am.
one?
Mr. Jordan Johnson,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Lewis, Mr. Mason,
Here we go.
out. Ms. McKnight,
Yes,
All right, we were
ma'am.
just listening to the Augusta Commission meeting, and they are breaking to go into executive session. But the big important facts that we just learned is the authorization of some money that can be used for Hurricane Helene relief efforts. The first one of note is a contract, an initial response contract that the Augusta mayor can now authorize for a payment of $6.3 million, not to exceed that, so a maximum of that to Ceres Environmental Services. Then there's also an emergency procurement, an authorized emergency procurement of Hurricane Helene debris management and financial recovery services. This is to another firm. This is Goodwin Mills and Kaywood, to use not exceeding $550,000. So we've got one for $6.3 million dealing with debris removal. We've got one for $550,000 dealing with financial recovery. It has to do with procurement in Augusta, and this money will come from the general fund. We did get some clarification in the meeting that general fund, it is the rainy day fund that is part of the general fund, and it isn't money that could not be reimbursed. This is money that could be applied for grants and applications and help from the federal government, because we are in that disaster declaration. So this isn't money that we won't see again. This is money that we could be reimbursed. So that is definitely good news as well. We also learned about a donation that Comcast is giving to the United Way of Augusta. It wasn't mentioned how much money, but since it was on this consent agenda, it was an addendum to it. I'm assuming it is a pretty substantial one. We will, of course, work to find out what that is, because obviously, you know, any help is a good thing. They also talked about water bills, and I think this one is important too, because we know, I mean, this is something that happened at my house. When a tree fell over, it can bust the irrigation system, and you know, your water can leak, and suddenly you have leaks that you don't even know that you have. They're talking about monitoring people's water bills and taking a look at that, and also to approve a late penalty waiver on all water bills because of this. And they're also going to be taking a look to kind of see what everybody's situation is with that. They also approved a waiver of fees for up to 5 bags of household waste per household for Richmond County residents only, and this is from September 30th to October 5th. So again, we're talking about emergency money here, 6.3 million, up to 6.3 million for debris removal, $550,000 procurement. This is for some financial recovery assistance. Again, this is money that can be reimbursed. So that is what the leaders were looking at. You know, that was a question, because they want to make sure that that's money that can get paid back. Comcast is making a donation, and then there's the late penalty waiver on water bills that's being waived, and also letting Augusta, Richmond County residents have that 5-bag limit of household items and household waste. We were speaking before this commission meeting with our Nick Proto and our Kayla Lopez. They were out surveying the damage, and we would like to hear from Kayla now about some of the damage that she has seen today. And we're waiting on Kayla. Sorry about that. We'll get her up in just a moment. You're still looking at some of that Forest Hills drone footage there. But we are waiting to hear from Kayla. Here we go.
Cosas aquí en Johnson están bastante tranquilo, pero el viaje para llegar aquí decía mucho. El cartel de bienvenido a Johnson ha caído, y muchos árboles también han caído. Yo estaba hablando con el dueño de este negocio que hay para atrás de mí, que estaba diciendo que están abiertos hasta las 2 días, y hoy están abiertos, pero no tienen luz, no tienen aire acondicionado, so no pueden vender cosas que están en el refrigerador. No pueden vender leche, pero tienen sodas, tienen galletitas, tienen cosas dulces mexicanos que pueden vender aquí también. Pero aquí no tienen luz, pero si sigue aquí, este sitio, este lado de la calle, todo esto tiene luz. Hay un restaurante mexicano aquí que tiene un sign que dice open, que están abiertos. No sé cuánto tiempo están abiertos, pero están abiertos. Y la agencia de manejo de emergencias del condado de Edgefield ha abierto un refugio para ayudar a las personas que lo necesitan. Están en el Jet Middle School, y muchas de las carreteras principales están bloqueadas, así que utilice su buen tretillo para llegar hasta allí. Y estamos hablando con esta persona que estaban diciendo que tiene que ir para Segura para coger agua, porque no tienen agua aquí. Y muchas de las personas que viven para fuera de este sitio, they are living on well water, so no tienen agua de aquí o en el medio del sitio, so tienen que ir a otros países. So vamos a estar mandando updates por todos los días. Puede coger en el website at WRDW.com para ver más de esta información, para ver dónde puede ir a coger más información, más agua, más shelter para todas las personas si necesitan.
And we thank Kayla for that. Kayla, our bilingual reporter, of course, getting some of our information to our Spanish-speaking communities. They definitely needed to hear some of that information as well. We'd like to go now to an update from South Carolina's Governor Henry McMaster. I can hear him in my earpiece right now, so I believe that means we have that ready as well. Just want to keep everybody up to date. So let's hear from Governor McMaster.
One other thing is this disaster relief. We're getting a lot of calls wanting to know why this county or that county has not been included in the disaster relief. That is because under the federal procedure, although we got the declaration to provide funds for disaster relief, the counties themselves must send in the information here for us to transmit it to FEMA. It doesn't work any other way. And if incorrect or fraudulent information is sent in, that is a federal crime. So we cannot send in information. Director Stinson can explain this again in more detail, but we can't send it in unless it is sent in to us, and it's got to be accurate. And most of the counties have not sent anything in to us to send in. So county officials, once you get the information, it takes a little while to assess the damages, but once we get that once you get that information, and then we have that information, we get it right in. Again, progress is slow due to that choke point that I mentioned. Still a good warning: don't go near those down lines. Don't take a chance. Don't put the any sort of equipment in the house running. Don't have your generator going. We've had people die because of that, at least one. Also, we don't think that we're going to have any unusual flooding. We think that the flooding that we'll be having, some of the rivers have already crested and are going down. Others are still building up. In Columbia here, the Congaree will be, I don't think it's crested yet. Maybe it's about to crest. We'll hear about that in a minute. But we don't expect any downriver unusual water going up outside of the floodplain. Also, I mentioned the National Guard. We are fully conversant in dealing with FEMA. We got a call, I think I told you before, Deanie Criswell had called several days ago. President Biden called late yesterday afternoon, and we have embedded with us Brett Howard with FEMA. And so we are working that and getting whatever we're entitled to have or allowed to have. And we've got the whole team on the field. Everybody that is available, even some that usually don't go out in the field, they're all out in the field now. And so we have a great team and because of experience, we got a great working relationship with all these different companies and entities, as well as the various counties. So we're making progress, but again, it's going to take a while because of this situation where the power lines are down. They're tangled up in the trees, and that's slowing us down. That is the main hindrance to getting everything going again. John Quarillo.
Thank you, Governor. John Quarillo with the National Weather Service. So I just want to address some of the concerns the Governor brought up with rumors about flooding in Columbia. So understandably, the river flooding in Columbia is an area of concern, especially with people making comparisons to 2015 floods. Well, there is some flooding to homes and roads adjacent to the Broad and Congaree rivers, such as what we're currently seeing in the Riverland Park neighborhood in Casey, for example. The good news is that the rivers, like the Governor had mentioned, are cresting now in the Columbia area. So for reference, the Congaree River at Columbia appears to have crested at 30.58 feet late this morning. This is the 9th highest crest on record and about 1.2 feet below what was observed on the river during the 2015 floods. I think it's important to stress that we don't anticipate any additional significant flooding to occur. Other areas away from the banks of the Broad and Congaree rivers that experienced flooding in 2015 will not see impacts. Flooding in 2015 was so severe because it was not just the river flooding, it was also torrential rainfall, which breached dams and brought creeks and streams well out of their banks. Also have some good news concerning the Wateree River at Camden. That river crested late last evening, and floodwaters will continue to recede, falling below major flood stage tomorrow. The floodwater will slowly work their way down toward the coast, with major flooding expected on the Santee River in Jamestown by Thursday. Moderate flooding is also possible on parts of the PD. Impacts will be limited, though, to areas more flood-prone right along the river. We also want to urge everyone living along, especially the Congaree and Broad rivers, to listen to the advice of local officials and remind everyone to avoid driving on any eroded floodways. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. Andrew Bateman, Director, Office of Regulatory Staff.
Thank you, Governor. Andrew Bateman, the South Carolina Office of Regulatory Staff. We continue to communicate frequently and work with our utility partners, our federal partners, and other state agencies to help restore power throughout the state. We understand that the situation is ongoing. I'll briefly summarize some of the outages that the Governor mentioned earlier. The total statewide outages at this point are 745,593. The top 3 impacted counties are Greenville County with just over 200,000 outages, Spartanburg County with just over 154,000 outages, and Anderson County with just over 72,000 outages. Thank you, Governor.
Thanks, sir. President Keller Kassam, Dominion Energy.
Keller Kassam, Dominion Energy, just some quick numbers. Totally impact customers on our system now, 440,000. Peak outage, 386,000. So that tells you some customers have been out more than once. I'm delighted to say that we finally broke through 100,000 out. We're at 95,000 out currently. Biggest impacted areas are here in Columbia. You know, everybody says, I don't see any line crews in my neighborhood. Well, they see them today. We tried to explain this. Transmission is substation, major taps that you see, get the commercial operations back up so people can get food, they can get gasoline, and that's the process that we've been through. Now we're in the neighborhoods today, so don't hear that anymore. Aiken, the governor was there yesterday. I was with him. That's the area that's hardest hit. In Aiken alone, general assessments indicate that we have over 1,000 broken poles in the town of Aiken alone. So it's going to be a tough recovery in that area. I just want to say that Team South Carolina extends beyond just these folks back here who help us, Chief Keel, Secretary Powell, Jimmy State, and I'd be remiss with Santee Cooper because they have come in and they offered up 143 line crews on the transmission side to assist us for mutual assistance because of the good fortune that they've had down there. The DOT has been tremendous with our crews working jointly trying to clear these roads. We make sure the lines are de-energized. They come in and provide that support. Brian Sterling, Department of Corrections, has got some chainsaw crews out there for us. And the things that mean the most of all the kind gestures that are shown to our linemen who are out there, no sleep, sweating. We try to keep them fed, but when they go in to get a drink at a restaurant, there are people all over that are buying their lunch, that are buying them food. That just tells you how wonderful and how blessed we are to live in this Palmetto State. And then Chapin High School, a shout out to them. The young people at Chapin High School, they don't have class, but what they are doing is tomorrow at 9 o'clock, they're going to feed 150 linemen, those students. So it's overwhelming. We feel so blessed in the midst of all of this difficulty that we're facing right now. But we'll get through it, we'll endure, and we'll get stronger, and it'll bring us even closer together. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, sir. State President Mike Callahan, Duke Energy.
Mike Callahan, South Carolina President, Duke Energy. Thank you, Governor, and thank you to everyone around behind me. Team South Carolina is certainly going to get through this, and I just want to express my appreciation for all of the support that we feel, as Keller talked about. So Duke Energy has made significant progress since Friday morning, assessing and repairing the substantial damage to our infrastructure. I just had a briefing on that progress and some numbers for you. The number of customers without power continues to come down, now approaching about 450,000. As of yesterday afternoon, that was 530,000, so significant work there. And that compares to about 625,000 that were without power as the storm left the region on Friday. The poles, wires, and even some of the substations that make up our transmission system experienced significant damage. This infrastructure must be repaired before service can be restored to neighborhoods and businesses. So for example, we had 108 transmission lines that were out of service yesterday, and we have brought back 40 of those into service today. We had 117 substations out of service yesterday, and we brought back 35 of those this morning. And to date, we have restored about 50% of the substations that were damaged by the storm. So the team is hard at work on rebuilding this infrastructure that really serves as the backbone of our system to take power that's generated at our plants and ultimately deliver it to our customers. In terms of resources, we have nearly 6,000 skilled line workers and support personnel on the ground now in the upstate and working strategically as we assign these workers where they are needed most to restore power in an efficient and safe manner. Yesterday, we began sharing with our customers that we expect to have power restored to the vast majority of our customers no later than Friday evening, with the exception of areas that are inaccessible or unable to receive service. And to be absolutely clear, that doesn't mean power will be out for everyone until Friday. It just means that the very last customer that we can restore might be as late as Friday night. But we'll see many customers continue to come online well before that. And the work that we are doing and will continue to do until the last customer has power takes time, as the governor said, and we appreciate the patience. We know how inconvenient this is, how disruptive this is to people's lives. I'd like to end on something that we're focused on every day at Duke Energy, Governor, you mentioned safety. We ask that all drivers in the upstate move over, slow down considerably when they see emergency service, first responders, and utility workers on the side of the road. You know, the move over laws in South Carolina are meant to protect workers, like those working to restore power, from life-threatening injuries. We also ask that members of the public avoid approaching utility workers in the field or entering their work zones as they clear debris and restore power. They have a hazardous and time-consuming job to do, and that requires their full attention to safety. So we just ask that everyone continue to support us in that effort. And thank you again.
Thank you, Mike Callahan. President and CEO Jimmy Staten, Santee Cooper.
Jimmy Staten with Santee Cooper. Our retail business, as you all know, was not part of we weren't in the direct line of destruction from this storm, and so we were able to restore all of that service on Friday. Our transmission system, however, was hit fairly hard, but not nearly as hard as what Duke and Dominion, the cooperatives, and several of the municipalities in the state have had to deal with. Working collaboratively with the cooperatives, we were able to get our last delivery point on our transmission system on yesterday. So our system is fully functioning now. So at Santee Cooper, our thoughts as being a part of Team South Carolina is that we have transitioned from restoration to mutual aid. And we have provided, as Keller said, we've got over 140 folks out working with municipals, working with the most hardest hit cooperatives. We've sent a couple of crews to Keller on the transmission side to help him reestablish service to those folks. So again, we are dedicated to ensuring that our team stays active as long as people are without power in South Carolina. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Mr. Staten. President and CEO Rob Hochstetler, Central Electric Power Cooperative.
Thank you, Governor. Rob Hostetler, President of Central Electric Power Cooperative. I'm here representing all 19 electric cooperatives of South Carolina. My colleagues have done a good job talking about Helene and the devastation, the utter destruction. I thought I would focus on what makes the cooperatives unique. We serve about a third of the population, about 2/3 of the land mass. We operate in all 46 counties in the state. Our peak count of outages was 425 meters without power. Today, crews are working around the clock. People work in the evening as well. We have more than 300 additional people who have come in from outside the state to join Team South Carolina, coming from many states, through mutual aid. These people come in trained and ready to go to work. Our eastern cooperatives that weren't hit as hard are all helping the western cooperatives put power back in place. I would like to say the cavalry is here, but the cavalry continues to show up. More people are showing up every day from these states, some as far away as Kansas and Iowa. As Mike mentioned, it could be a week or more for some people to get their power back, but people will be getting power back during that time. We serve some of the most rural and remote parts of the state, and that takes time to get there. The exception being those very limited places where there just is utter destruction. This is unprecedented damage. The western side of our state saw what I call the dirty side of the hurricane. That northeastern side is where you get utter destruction. More rain, more wind, more damage. And so this is not a typical storm restoration for our state in that part of the country, that part of the state, the upper part of the state. It's a rebuild. And that's the way I'm starting to think of it. It is harder to rebuild in mountainous areas than it is where it's flat. We're still assessing damages in those areas that we cannot get to because of the thousands of trees down. But just a couple of stats. Last time I checked, more than 1,900 poles were snapped. Just for context, it takes about a four-person crew up to 4 hours to replace a single pole. So that's a lot of work to be done. Co-ops by nature are not as dense. So a few poles for us might only bring on a few meters, where a few poles in more suburban areas might bring on full neighborhoods. We are making progress. A good way to explain what all my colleagues talked about is thinking about we deliver electrons like cars are delivered on highways and interstates. The transmission system is the interstates. The delivery points that you heard them talk about are the exits off the interstates. We depend on them. Keller from Dominion, Mike from Duke Energy, Jimmy from Santee Cooper, to get those interstates open and get the exits open so that we can go get the service on the roads that run in front of your home, in front of your communities. That's what we call distribution. That's what the co-ops do. A little bit about what our employees are doing. Every employee is working on these things in the state. It's around the clock. It is a dangerous work. As Mike said, give them space to do their jobs, offer them some breath. They live in the communities they serve. They know how important it is, electricity, to all of us every day. They get it. One good example to me that really hit home was a crew member at Black River Electric out of Sumter, South Carolina. Unfortunately, their home burned to the ground, total loss on Friday. That person was back to work on the weekend to help other people. And I just think that's amazing. We get it as society, electricity is important. The few people, and really multiple people, that are asking, what can we do to help? And I would tell you what you can do to help is, one, be safe yourselves. Please be safe. Offer some patience to the employees that are out working. Give them space to do their work. I've had employees ask me to ask the same thing. Please slow down when you're working around them. A few tales of people bypassing cones, forcing people to jump out of the way, and that's destructive. Bear with us. We're working. Offer space to people doing their jobs. Let them do their jobs. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. Kim Stinson, South Carolina Emergency Management Division.
Thank you, sir. Kim Stinson with State EMD. The State Emergency Operations Center remains at OPCON 1, Operating Condition 1, which is our highest readiness state. The top State Emergency Operations Center priorities right now are maintaining communications, clearing roadways, power restoration, shelter operation, and food and water distribution. We have 10 of our personnel that are deployed to the heaviest impacted counties here in South Carolina, and we continue on a constant basis to closely coordinate with the county emergency management personnel. At the county level, they currently have 10 counties at operating condition 1, which is the highest level of alert, 11 at operating condition number 2, which is the enhanced level of awareness, and 25 are at operating condition 3, which is steady state operations. Their operational focus includes, similar to ours, power restoration, road clearing operations, shelter, and food and water distribution. Damage assessment is ongoing in the affected counties, but we do have some preliminary data. On the residential side, we've got 15 counties that are reporting 519 damaged homes, of which 21 are destroyed and 200 with major damage. Public assistance costs, that's the infrastructure damage and emergency protective measures, are being reported by 36 counties for a total right now of $14 million. And then county governments, right today, we're closed in 14 counties with 1 county on delay. In the logistics area, our Winsboro warehouse is operational with food, water, and tarps. Contracts for general logistics, transportation, fuel, and food have been activated. So far, we have actioned 450 requests, of which 145 have been completed and 305 are in progress. The most requests are for food, water, fuel, and chainsaws. And under the Emergency Management Assistance Compact, we received 2 search and rescue teams from Louisiana. We also have our public information phone system is operational for residents to call in with any questions, and the number is 1-866-246-0133. On the federal side, an expedited major disaster declaration for South Carolina for Hurricane Helene was received last night. And the expedited declaration includes 13 counties for individual assistance. That's Aiken, Anderson, Bamberg, Barnwell, Cherokee, Greenville, Greenwood, Lexington, Oconee, Newberry, Pickens, Saluda, and Spartanburg counties. Then 12 counties for public assistance, and that's debris and emergency protective measures, were Aiken, Anderson, Bamberg, Barnwell, Cherokee, Greenville, Greenwood, Oconee, Newberry, Pickens, Saluda, and Spartanburg counties. All counties are also eligible for funding under the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, which funds mitigation projects designed to limit the effects of future disasters, and that can range from wind retrofits to elevating homes. Counties can be added later for both individual or public assistance once damage assessment activities have been completed. Normally, there is a more deliberative process in requesting federal disaster assistance, which involves conducting joint damage assessments with FEMA personnel, which can take several days and sometimes even weeks. As an example, joint damage assessments with FEMA following Tropical Storm Debbie in August took nearly 2 weeks to complete. With Tropical Storm Helene, it was clear that there was significant damage, and so we thought it best to expedite the request to at least start the process to receive federal assistance faster than normal. Accordingly, the expedited request was based on residential damages reported here at the State Emergency Operations Center, storm-related fatalities, heavy power outages, and vulnerability of affected populations. And we do have a federal coordinating officer, Brett Howard, who is here to coordinate that federal assistance as it becomes available. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Major General Van McCarty, South Carolina National Guard.
Thank you, Governor. Major General Van McCarty, the Military Department of South Carolina. As the Governor initially said, we have over 600 soldiers who are currently deployed for state active duty. We are in the process of bringing on additional personnel to ensure that we have the resources to meet the demands of the state. We continue to have significant aviation assets to support all needs, to include the SC Heart mission that has been uniquely used in this particular case. We, through the Emergency Management Assistance Compact, we EMAC'd 2 UH-72 helicopters and 2 CH-47 helicopters to North Carolina. 2 of those UH-72s are part of the SC Heart mission, the Helicopter Aquatic Rescue Team. They rescued 20 folks in North Carolina yesterday, so they made a difference. They saved lives. As we continue to bring on forces, we are also in the process of EMACing additional forces to South Carolina from the state of Florida. A unique EMAC for us, we're bringing in an Air Force but Air Guard resource from Florida. It's called a Red Horse unit. It's a small unit, but it brings a lot of capability as it relates to what we need right now, and that's debris clearing capability. So we look forward to having those soldiers or airmen from Florida tomorrow. We're also in the process of looking to other states to bring in additional resources, and we will adjust those resources as the situation requires. We're also working with our state guard, integrating them with missions for support to the counties. To this point, we have been focusing most of our missions with our engineers to support South Carolina Department of Transportation and ensuring that we can get the state highways back up. We're in the process now of shifting our focus of work from that mission, and we're going to now, focus our work to the counties. We're going to deploy engineering assets to each county. Those counties will have the opportunity through their emergency operations centers to prioritize their needs, and our soldiers there will help them recover as the situation requires. We're in good standing here in South Carolina. We have plenty of resources both in the South Carolina Guard, and we can certainly reach out to other states and to Title X to help us in the recovery process. Team South Carolina will get through this. Thank you.
Thank you. General Secretary Justin Powell, Department of Transportation.
Thank you, Governor. Justin Powell, Secretary of the South Carolina Department of Transportation. SCDOT is not slowing down, but is in fact speeding up with our recovery from the Tropical Storm Helene. Our workforce is fully engaged and continues its 24-hour operations in response to this. To date, we now have 87 additional DOT and contractor crews that have been moved into the affected area. That's up from 60 crews that were available yesterday. Continue to do that, and we will continue to send additional people and equipment into the affected areas until we get the job done. We ask for the public's patience through this disaster. I encourage motorists when they come across, whether it's a public works crew, a DOT crew, a utility crew, a public safety crew, a National Guard crew, any of those working on the side of the road, slow down, give them their space, make sure that they can do their jobs. We want everyone to get home at the end of the day. At present, we have 480 roads closed across the state, but we have reopened 287 routes so far. As power companies focus more on getting into the distribution side of things, we will be able to be reopening more routes as they untangle the power lines that are on the trees that are in the roads. SCDOT is working very closely with the utility providers and assisting them in clearing the trees as we can get the power grid restored as quickly as possible. I do want to talk a little bit about the water levels on the Congaree and Wateree rivers. We see no threat to the bridges there and have been actively monitoring and closely watching that. As well as that, but we have no concerns that there is any threat from flooding on those structures. And finally, we're getting the trees out of the roadway quickly. As you travel, you will see piles of debris and trees piling up on the side of the road. Know that we are in the process of activating our debris removal plan, and we'll start working on it in October. Thank you. Thank you, Governor.
Thanks, Director Robert Woods, South Carolina Department of Public Safety.
Good afternoon, Rob Woods, Director of South Carolina Department of Public Safety. I'll just give you an idea as to where we are with regard to the traffic management mission. First of all, our calls for service, and when I say calls for service, what I reference is collisions, assist motorists, blocked roadways. Those have been trending downward over the last couple of days. They peaked on Friday at around 2,300. We got to just over 1,000 on Saturday, and then yesterday it was about 570. During the morning hours, our first shift today, 6 a.m. to around 11 a.m. during those first few hours, we were back to about 120 calls for service. So we're trending back to normal. What that means for us is now we can shift our focus of effort to assisting SLED with law enforcement missions, and that's where our personnel will be primarily concentrating in their efforts. So, for example, we've got 196 personnel from the South Carolina Highway Patrol and State Transport Police assigned statewide right now. 121 of those are in the upstate area, which is where the greatest, obviously the greatest impact of the storm is. So those folks right now, those officers and troopers are primarily conducting high-profile law enforcement patrols, but we're also available to assist SLED with specific law enforcement and security missions. Lastly, I would just share this with you, again, going back to the safety message. Roadways in some instances still blocked by trees and in some instances water. Please be aware of that. Avoid those things. Please use extra caution while you're driving. In addition to that, we still have some areas where intersections are not under traffic control or normal traffic control signals. Please be aware in some instances we've got law enforcement out there directing traffic. Pay attention to the law enforcement. And as I mentioned the other day, when you come up on an intersection and there's no law enforcement there and there's no traffic signal that's functioning, treat that like you would a four-way stop. So as you were coming up to a stop sign, stop. If there's a vehicle to the right, yield to that vehicle. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Wood. Chief Mark Keel, SLED.
Mark Keel, SLED Chief. ESF 13, SLED, DNR, Triple P, SCDC, and DPS are currently providing 52 agents, officers, or troopers in 10 counties and 4 cities to support sheriff's office and police chiefs with security-related missions. Those counties include Aiken, Cherokee, McCormick, Edgefield, Saluda, Lawrence, Union, Greenwood, Spartanburg, Kershaw counties, the city of North Augusta, Union, Greenwood, and the city of Pacolet. In addition, Conway Police Department has 5 officers that will begin assisting Union City tonight. They're in travel status as we speak. ESF 13, again, those agencies I just mentioned, those state agencies, we have staffed additional teams for deployment to additional counties to provide increased law enforcement presence to maintain order and visibility. We're anticipating using an additional 132 law enforcement officers. This will involve the counties of Abbeville County, Cherokee County, Allendale County, Anderson County, Barnwell County, Bamberg County, Edgefield County, Greenville County, Hampton County, Lawrence County, Lexington County, McCormick County, Newberry County, Oconee County, Pickens County, Union County, and Spartanburg County. We are also assisting with food drops and distribution locations to secure those resources until they are distributed out to the citizen. We have all our aviation assets are available for missions or assessments, and we will continue to maintain contact with our local law enforcement partners and respond to any requests they have for additional services.
Thank you, Chief Keel. Director Emily Farr, LLR.
Thank you, Governor. Emily Farr with the Department of Labor Licensing and Regulation.
here to provide an update on the state's firefighting and search and rescue efforts organized through our Division of State Fire. In response to requests from the counties, our search and rescue and firefighting missions are continuing to support missions in the upstate counties with urban search and rescue teams and fire department resources through firefighter mobilization. As of today, we have 228 personnel assigned throughout the upstate. They are providing access to conduct welfare checks during our search operations. We also have one FEMA team that arrived from California last night, and they are operating in Greenville County today. We expect another FEMA team also from California arriving later today that will be operating in Oconee and Pickens counties. I did want to make note of some really important safety notes during this time. Anytime that we see power outages, there's always concerns about generator safety and using candles. So really important messages for those of you using generators or for your neighbors or friends that may be using them. Make sure never to run a generator inside of your home. If you're using a portable generator, having a battery operated or battery backup carbon monoxide alarms in your home if possible. The effects of carbon monoxide poisoning are dizziness, breathlessness, confusion, or loss of consciousness. Be sure not to overload the generator. Before refueling it, shut it down and allow it to cool, then refuel the generator. Try to keep it at least 20 feet from doors, windows, and vent openings into the home, and never use it in an attached garage. For candle safety, if you're using candles, be sure to check your smoke alarms to make sure they're operational. Consider using battery-operated flameless candles if you can, or of course flashlights. If you are using candles, be sure to put them in a sturdy candle holder and on a flat surface. And as always, do not leave open flame candles unattended. We're working really hard to push this message out as much as we can in partnership with EMD and others, but these are very important safety notes for all of our folks without power. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. State Forester Scott Phillips.
Good afternoon. The Forestry Commission is currently continues to support road clearing operations in the Piedmont of South Carolina. Our incident management team continues to support EMD's points of distribution mission, which is delivering food and water to affected areas within the state. The agency is also working on a damage assessment for South Carolina. We got airplanes in the air currently looking at what is the damage to our forest in South Carolina. We are implementing a state forester's burn ban effective tomorrow morning. So Tuesday, October 1st at 6 a.m. The purpose of that burn ban is to relieve strain on first responders that are currently out there working in the field. As the governor said a while ago, we need to keep all the players on the field out there. And so we don't need to be pulling away our firefighters from road clearing missions or emergency response to go to fires, debris fires in somebody's yard. We will reevaluate the need for that burn as power and access are restored into the damage affected areas. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Director Mike Leach, Department of Social Services.
Thank you, Governor. Mike Leach, DSS. As of 2 p.m. today, South Carolina currently has 16 total shelters open, 10 general population shelters, and 6 medical needs shelters open across the state, supporting around 206 individuals currently. We continue to work with Department of Public Health with operation of these sites with Red Cross and a few other organizations. And we continue to work on feeding programs. We have a mass feeding sites currently available in the following areas: Aiken County, which is servicing Aiken, Edgefield, and Barnwell counties, Saluda County, and the southern part of Richland County, Gadsden area. And those are being operated by the Salvation Army. And just want to thank the communities and churches and businesses that are working with their local communities and the citizens to make sure that there is feeding and water. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Edward Seymour, South Carolina Department of Public Health.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon. Dr. Ed Simmons, South Carolina Department of Public Health.
First, wanted to give an update on our healthcare facilities. Thanks to great work from our utility partners, all of our hospitals have had power restored and are fully operational and open, so that's very good news. We still have nursing homes and assisted livings and other facilities that are running on generator power. We are working closely with them. All of their patients are being well taken care of. They have adequate food and fuel, and we, again, are checking in on them regularly. From the medical needs standpoint, Director Leach mentioned that we have the medical needs shelters. Those are for people who have medical equipment and need a secure source of electricity to run that medical equipment. If you think you might be needing one of those, please call us at 1-855-472-3432. Again, 855-472-3432. We will work with you to identify what your needs are and then get you to one of our shelters if that's appropriate. I will also note we know there's a number of people who need medical oxygen, and that has been a challenge. We have secured a supply of medical oxygen, the small bottles, the personal size bottles of those, and are currently transporting that to the upstate in a number of different areas and working with our counties and the medical facilities up there to develop a distribution plan, and you'll be hearing more about that very soon. Finally, just a couple of public health issues to be thinking about. One is food safety. If you have food in a refrigerator or a freezer without power, it's time to throw it out. Please make sure you put it in a secure container so wild animals don't get into it, but that food is no longer safe and unfortunately needs to go. Also, please make sure that if you have standing water that you're able to drain, get rid of that. We're very concerned about mosquitoes and mosquito-borne illness after this storm. The less standing water we have, the less mosquitoes we will have. And finally, if you're working in your yard, you're working to clear debris, be careful of heat illness. The heat index is going to be in the mid-80s in the upstate the next several days. That's certainly hot enough if you're working hard to develop heat illness. Make sure you're drinking water, taking frequent breaks, and if you start to feel overheated, find a cool location to cool off so you don't succumb to heat illness, which can have serious outcomes. With that, sir, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ed Summer. Interim Director Myra Reese, South Carolina Department of Environmental Services.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, Myra Reese, Department of Environmental Services. The team at DES have been very laser focused on the following areas of responsibility and priorities, beginning with dams. Our dam safety program is not aware of any significant issues with our state regulated dams because of Helene. We are continuing our post-storm assessments, and as a reminder, we were looking at the dams that were located in counties that received significant rainfall greater than 8 inches, and we identified about 200 dams. The counties they are located is Pickens, Greenwood, Lawrence, Oconee, Abbeville, Aiken, Anderson, Edgefield, and Greenville. We have assessed the condition of about 104 dams. 45 of those we were able to get to the site and have staff assessments. The remaining 59 were self-reports from the dam owners. The concerns with overtopping of dams have greatly diminished. However, debris accumulations in spillways is a concern both now and in weeks to come as runoff from rainfall washes into reservoirs, including limbs and debris. So this is a message to our dam owners. We're asking you to continue monitoring water levels and continue to ensure spillways are clear and free of debris. In addition, you should also monitor for voids in the dams created by fallen trees. If voids are noted or any assistance is needed for our dam owners, please contact our dam safety staff at 803-898-4050. Again, 803-898-4050. We're on call 24 hours. Drinking water, no issues have been reported related to the supply of public drinking water to our citizens. As the governor mentioned, we're aware of a lot of misinformation being spread right now about drinking water and wastewater operations. The governor mentioned the City of Columbia held a press conference earlier today to address those rumors, and we're aware of other utilities working to clarify misinformation as well. I just want to strongly encourage everyone to please get your information directly from the utilities themselves. Please don't rely on hearsay or social media posts unless the social media updates are directly from the utilities themselves. We continue to reach out to drinking water and wastewater systems across the state, especially those in the heavily impacted areas, so that we can monitor their status. And one in particular area is to check on fuel supply status for those that are relying on generator power until permanent power is obtained. We have been in direct communications with many of these systems, down from the largest to the smallest. And they all are currently able to treat and distribute drinking water to their customers. And we're working hard to make sure it stays that way. We do continue to receive notifications of drinking water facilities that are taking precautionary measures to conserve water, and in some cases issuing boil water advisories because of low pressure within the system. Please follow information directly from your local drinking water provider for the latest updates. And just as with drinking water, we're aware of a lot of misinformation about facilities' operations status on the wastewater side. We have been notified of some sanitary sewer overflows, as you would expect with any storm of this significance, and we will remain in communication with our state's wastewater facilities to provide technical assistance. We're also making sure that those providers understand the circumstances in which they need to issue public notifications about a local sanitary sewer overflow. Debris management, we're communicating with our state partners and with local entities about debris management sites, and that we will approve alternative debris sites as needed so you can get the debris off of your property. Coastal impacts, our Bureau of Coastal Management has been made aware of a small amount of docks in the Beaufort area that were damaged. We're working with the owners of those structures. We have teams out today assessing for any other beachfront structures in our coastal communities. And a reminder to private well owners, we know that there are a lot of folks who rely on private wells for their drinking water, and when you don't have power, you don't have access to drinking water. We also know that your well could have been impacted by flood waters, and so we just want to encourage you to contact our private well hotline at 1-888-761-5989. Again, that's 1-888-761-5989 for guidance and information about how you can have your well water tested and your well disinfected. In closing, just a reminder about flood water. We want to continue to remind all South Carolinians to avoid floodwaters and use extreme caution around them. As you are aware, there are many harmful things that could have an impact on your health, and we'd like you to be reminded to take precautions. Thank you.
Thank you, my Race Director Marcia Adams, South Carolina Department of Administration.
Yes, good afternoon. Marcia Adams, South Carolina Department of Administration. And I'm going to update you today on donated goods. And I first want to say thank you to all the citizens in the state and those outside of the state for their many offers of assistance. We're continuing to work with counties to determine their needs for donated goods and volunteers, and just want to thank everyone for what they are doing to help South Carolina. Because donations of products for disaster relief require transportation and warehousing, the most effective donation is usually a monetary donation. Charitable organizations assisting South Carolina victims can use those donations to purchase locally, if possible, the exact items those victims need to recover. We are requesting that all monetary donations, food, or other donated goods be sent directly to South Carolina voluntary organizations who are assisting our state with a disaster response. A list of those organizations can be found at scemd.org/recovery/volunteer and donate. For people interested in volunteering, you can also visit that same website where there is a link to volunteersc.org to register to volunteer. Many volunteer opportunities require specialized training, and we want to ensure that all volunteers are safe during the response and recovery activities. Please do not self-deploy, as unexpectedly showing up at a location will create an additional burden for first responders. As public officials and disaster relief organizations identify specific needs, if you are registered, you will be contacted. Again, thank you for all of the offers for assistance. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Marcia. Well, that's a lot of information. Does anybody have a question? As you can see, we've got a great team. Team South Carolina's a great team. Governor? Yes, sir.
So On Wednesday evening, about 6:50, the National Weather Service in Columbia issued an advisory that we're going to get tropical storm winds here in the Midlands, indicating we're going to get some stronger winds further west. But you still didn't do any kind of media briefing ahead of that on Thursday. Why not do any media briefing on Thursday when you have some people saying they feel like they had a chance to get prepared for the storm?
First of all, we did issue the declaration on Wednesday, emergency declaration. It got a lot of publicity and a lot of information, and also we had a number of press events around the state at which these questions came up, and we recited all that at those.
I actually had a question for the utilities. I know that there's been a lot of grid resiliency work done ahead of the storm, and as this came in, we saw more damage done to some of the high voltage transmission lines. We're just wondering, what we actually knew about the vulnerability of the system heading into this, how this impacts ongoing work to improve that.
Well, we always say we work 365 days to prepare for this, and that includes vegetation management. The transmission lines that you speak of is regulated by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, the same folks that regulate Lake Murray. And we clear those lines from one side of that right-of-way to another. We are under extreme rules and regulations. If we have a tree that falls into a power line, if it doesn't come off that right-of-way, then we're subject to fines and censure by that organization. So we have a team of arborists and foresters that stay on that at all times. You need to understand we do a lot of work where we put in steel poles. Steel poles are resilient of winds up to about 150 miles per hour. And on our system, as I won't speak for the Duke system, but I can speak for Jimmy's system, we have voltages of 230,000 and 115,000 volts. We have also what we call sub-transmission, which is kind of transmission distribution is 46,000 volts. Some of that is wood poles. Wood poles, you get a 70, 75 mile per hour winds, which is what we had. You're going to have problems. That's kind of like the same thing with the distribution. So that's basically where we've got trouble. We don't have it where we kind of did our grid resiliency with the steel poles, and we replace those as we go in, as the state grows, and as we go in there and have issues. So that's a 365 days. Some lady sent me an email saying, "Why didn't y'all go out and make the system safe before the hurricane came?" And it's just that's impossible to do. We're doing it every day. With the work that we do. Some of the folks that complain the loudest about the lights being out are the ones that complain the loudest when we go in there to do the tree trimming. So we just, that's just human nature, and we accept that, and we understand that, but we're always working to inspect, patrol, and maintain both our transmission and distribution assets, as well as our dams that we use for hydro generation and our power plants.
Keller covered a lot of ground there, and very similar for Duke Energy. At the highest voltages, we go up to 500 kV. At the lowest level, we have 44 kV that you called sub-transmission. Those highest voltage lines fared well, but the level of destruction that we're seeing in the upstate is a level that we haven't seen. Governor, we were in Greenville yesterday. I appreciate you coming and touring that and hosting a media event there where Senator Graham said, his whole life in the upstate, he's never seen destruction like that. And so the investments that we've made certainly have been helpful, but the level of destruction is just beyond something that you can harden a grid for.
Gotcha. And I know that you mentioned that this work has been ongoing, that you guys are hamstrung by a lot. Did you anticipate that something like this could have happened ahead of time? I was just kind of curious as far as hindsight being 20/20, obviously, but.
Yeah, there's always preparation for any kind of natural disaster. It's interesting in the upstate, what I usually lose sleep over and think about most is an ice storm. We've had those before that cause this level of destruction, and so we do what we can to build infrastructure. Some of our system is underground, some of it is not, obviously. We have a system that's been built up over many decades, but we'll continue to evaluate and learn as we will from this storm.
Yes.
Governor, you mentioned that you spoke with President Biden yesterday.
Well, I didn't speak with him. His message was one of a number.
Okay, and what specifically are the feds providing for?
That's what we just talking about.
Yeah.
He referred to that the declaration and how FEMA has been working with us, and I had spoken with Dina Criswell, the FEMA administrator, a day or two prior to that. He left a message. I was busy, couldn't answer the phone, so I called him back and left a message for him. So I expect we probably talked before long, but he's good about staying in touch. And FEMA's always been a big help. And we have where is our man? Come on over, let him take a look at you. Tell him what you're doing, please.
Okay, sure, be glad to. Hi, I'm Brett Howard. I've been appointed as the Federal Coordinating Officer for Hurricane Helene. Currently, as you heard through this, we've got 2 USAR teams that one is employed, one is on the way. That encompasses about 90 personnel for both 45 that are on the ground. I've got staff that are inbound to start getting out into the communities that are impacted by this disaster that have the declaration in those counties. We need them to start registering. I have an IMAT team, and I need to give you numbers for that. I don't think anybody has asked, so if I could, I'll get to that in just a second. I have an incident management assistance team that is helping me bring in the federal resources the state and the survivors are going to need as we transition from response to recovery, as the power comes back on and repairs start being made. We also have mobile registration intake centers getting ready to be in these areas to help with that. We're helping with public health on oxygen bottles, anything that the state really requires and needs if they can't really through their robust contracting system. And many of you were here during Debbie, and I talked at length about the state and their preparedness, and you have heard from all of the governor's staff about how well they do and how many contracts they have in place. But I do want to make sure we get this message out to the survivors, and also my thoughts and famous thoughts and prayers are with those that lost loved ones in this, and also those that have lost homes and property in this too. So there's 3 ways to really get in touch with FEMA. If you're in one of those declared counties, the web is disasterassistance.gov. You can call the 1-800 number, 1-800-621-3362, 1-800-621-FEMA, or you can use the FEMA app on your phone, either iPhone or Android. The easiest and most efficient way to do it is on the web. That will get you registered really quick. There's no waiting on a phone call or anything like that. And those, we need to get people registered so we can start get them started in their recovery, to start purchasing things that they need to do to either repair their home, have somewhere to stay, and things like that. Did that answer your question, ma'am?
Yes,
thank you. Thank you, Governor.
Yeah, a couple other items. One is on the public assistance side. FEMA pays 75% of those costs, and the state has to pick up the other 25%. And so it's so important that we have all that documentation from the local level to identify the facility or the damage, and get that documentation in terms of how much it's going to cost to repair that. That's extremely important on that end of it. On the individual assistance side, FEMA picks up a lot of that themselves, and I think it's about $80,000 max you could get right now in terms of IA per individual that own a.
You're combining the 2 programs.
Yeah.
Other needs and
combined.
yes.
So you could get a potential of $80,000. Most people don't get that much. Half of it is for basically housing, and the other half is for what they call other needs assistance, and that could be medical bills, repairing or replacing some of your furniture and that sort of thing. They're bringing a lot to bear, like right now, in terms of oxygen and the federal teams and all that. But at the end of the day, what they really bring to South Carolina is reimbursement for many of these costs, both at the public level and at the government level as well. But documentation is extremely important, and that starts at the local level.
I think false documentation, draws a penalty, a criminal penalty.
We should be correct about it, right?
Yeah. Thank you. More questions?
Yes. So when it comes to the daily assistance, we're seeing a lot of, private citizens offering water, places to charge phones, take showers, things like that. Other than shelters, is the state offering any other places to do that? Just to kind of get water, food, anything like that?
Well, several people have talked about these points of distribution that we're supplying food and water to the counties. All this is managed at the local level, and so they ask us to provide the equipment, in this case the commodities, and that's shipped in, and then we work with them in terms of staffing and that sort of thing. So it's kind of an on-demand system. We've got supplies at our Winsboro warehouse, and if they need it, we will ship it.
And that's, like you said, so like county administration would request those things?
Yeah, well, the each county has an emergency management office that does similar to what we do here at the state in managing the emergency in terms of the operation and the logistics and the recovery piece of it. So we work with them.
Sort of the same question for the schools that may have lost food and items. Who picks up the tab for that?
That's a good question. Most of the schools get their funding for their food through USDA, and I'm not exactly sure how they work that, but I think they'll just replace it normally. And I don't know if anybody else has a better thought on that or not, but not seeing any. But
Governor, can we get a description of what kind of assets were pre-positioned before the storm, and where were they pre-positioned, especially as we hear about crews coming in from out of state to assist our electric utilities?
Yeah, they're coming from California, Florida, Mississippi, I think Alabama.
But what was pre-positioned ahead of time?
I don't recall the exact number we had in the beginning, but I will say at the first media briefing we talked about 18 states all the way to Canada. We had crews coming in. That number increases literally as we speak. For the Duke Energy system, we also serve parts of Florida, parts of the Midwest. This storm came right up through Florida, through South Carolina, North Carolina, and into Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky that we serve. We're wrapping up restoration outside of the Carolinas. Those areas weren't hit with I think, Rob, you called it the dirty side of the storm, and didn't face the level of destruction. So we're starting to collapse in and move crews from Florida and the Midwest. So that number will continue to increase.
I spoke to the governor on Sunday. That's way back before the storm, way back when it was still supposed to go through Atlanta instead of the passing over Augusta. On Monday, we sent a message out to all of our storm coordinators within the company. Let's go ahead, take care of your families at home, and let's get ready to work, because we're probably going to be impacted by this storm in some way. At that time, we said Cat 3 is what we were anticipating. We put our storm team together and had our first call on Wednesday. We went into storm mode and opened up our storm center on Thursday. That's when we start communicating with Mr. Bateman. I had my first call with him the Friday before, when I called him and said, hey, I think this one's coming. I think we're going to have some mutual assistance. And then we put a request in with Southeastern Electric Exchange, just like Duke Energy did, and we asked for resources to come here to the state. I mean, a lot of these social rumor lies that we released linemen to go work in Florida, which is absurd. We bring resources here. The problem is because this storm was so large and it was
just
covering
wrapping
Florida.
up, but things are really continuing here at News 12. We are working to get the latest information for you for News 12 First at 4, which starts in exactly 14 minutes. There is so much more information coming your way. Of course, you just heard a lot from South Carolina. We've been really focusing on the Georgia side as well. We've heard from Governor Kemp, so we're hearing from both